What happens when one of WWE's most dominant superstars steps into the most brutal octagon in the world? Today, we're diving deep into how Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate himself, turned his short but explosive UFC career into one of the most profitable runs in MMA history. From knockout wins to multi-million-dollar contracts, this is the story of how Brock Lesnar made an outrageous amount of money in the UFC. From wrestling ring to octagon, the beast's shocking move. Before Brock Lesnar became a household name in the UFC, he had already conquered the world of professional wrestling. In WWE, Lesnar was the ultimate alpha, powerful, fast, and ruthless. But by 2004, after achieving everything from the WWE Championship to WrestleMania main events, Brock wanted something new, something real. In 2008, fans were stunned when the WWE megastar signed with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Many doubted him. Critics said he was just a scripted fighter, but Lesnar wasn't here for entertainment, he was here to dominate for real. And dominate, he did. Lesnar's smartest business move, betting on himself. When Brock signed with UFC, he didn't just take a paycheck, he made one of the smartest business decisions in combat sports history. Instead of a flat salary, Lesnar negotiated pay-per-view (PPV) percentages, sponsorship deals, and performance bonuses. That meant every time fans paid to see him fight, Brock got a slice of the pie, and with millions tuning in worldwide, that pie was massive. UFC President Dana White later admitted that Lesnar was one of the biggest pay-per-view draws in the company's history. To put it simply, Lesnar's arrival was a financial earthquake for the UFC. The build-up: Brock Lesnar vs. Frank Mir, UFC 81. Lesnar made his debut at UFC 81 against veteran Jiu-Jitsu master Frank Mir. The world tuned in. Despite losing via submission, the fight drew huge PPV numbers. Why? Because Brock Lesnar brought WWE fans, MMA fans, and casual viewers, all into one arena. Even in defeat, he proved to be a box office goldmine. Reports suggest that Lesnar earned around $250,000 just for that fight, not including sponsorships or bonuses. For a debuting fighter, that was unheard of. The championship era, from rookie to heavyweight king, Lesnar bounced back fast. In 2008, he crushed Heath Herring at UFC 87, showing power and aggression like no one else in the division. Then came his biggest test: Randy Couture, the UFC legend and heavyweight champion. At UFC 91, Lesnar did the impossible. He destroyed Couture and became the UFC heavyweight champion in only his fourth professional fight. This victory didn't just give him the belt, it made him a millionaire overnight. Brock's UFC 91 pay breakdown: approximate base salary, $450,000. Win bonus, $100,000. PPV revenue share, over $1 million. Sponsorships, $200,000 plus. Total earnings, around $1.7 million, for one night of destruction. UFC 100, the night Brock became a legend. If one event defined Brock Lesnar's UFC legacy, it was UFC 100. The event was historic, celebrating a century of UFC cards, and Lesnar headlined it against Frank Mir in a revenge match. This time, there was no mercy. Lesnar smashed Mir with ground and pound and walked away with his arm raised, and his pockets filled. Reports estimate Lesnar earned over $3 million from UFC 100 when PPV shares were counted. It became one of the highest-selling UFC events ever, with more than 1.6 million buys. Dana White himself called it a monster success, and Brock Lesnar was at the center of it all. Why Brock Lesnar was a business goldmine for UFC? Lesnar's appeal wasn't just his physique or dominance, it was his crossover power. He attracted WWE fans curious to see him in a real fight, MMA fans eager to see if he could actually hang, casual sports viewers drawn to his freak athleticism. In short, Brock Lesnar was must-see TV. Even when he wasn't fighting, his name alone could sell out arenas and drive pay-per-view records. By 2010, Lesnar's PPV fights had reportedly generated over $23 million in personal earnings, and more than $125 million in total revenue for the UFC. That's not outrageous, that's legendary. Behind the scenes, Lesnar's smart contracting tactics. One of Lesnar's biggest advantages was his business acumen. Despite being relatively new to MMA, he had already built a reputation as a master negotiator. Lesnar never signed long-term deals without leverage. He preferred short contracts with high payouts, giving him the ability to renegotiate after every major win. For example, after becoming champion, he renegotiated his deal to include higher PPV points. He secured sponsorships from brands like Deathclutch, Jimmy John's, and Dymatize Nutrition, making him one of the few fighters to earn big outside the octagon. He knew his value, and he never sold himself short. The fight against diverticulitis, the battle beyond the ring. In 2009, Lesnar faced a life-threatening illness, diverticulitis, a severe intestinal disease. It forced him out of action for months, nearly ending his career. Most fighters would have retired, but not Brock Lesnar. He made a dramatic comeback, defeating Shane Carwin at UFC 116 in one of the most iconic heavyweight bouts of all time. The win earned him another $1 million payday, plus huge PPV bonuses. His toughness, both physical and mental, turned him from just a champion into an inspiration. The fall, Cain Velasquez and Alistair Overeem. Eventually, every warrior faces defeat. Lesnar's losses to Cain Velasquez and Alistair Overeem marked the end of his UFC dominance. His body wasn't the same, and his illness had taken a toll. But even in defeat, the paychecks didn't stop. Lesnar reportedly earned over $2.5 million combined from his last 2 UFC fights, more than many champions earn in their entire careers. That's the power of being Brock Lesnar. The surprise return, UFC 200. In 2016, after years back in WWE, Brock Lesnar shocked the world once again. He returned for one more fight at UFC 200, facing Mark Hunt. Despite the short notice, Lesnar's comeback created massive buzz. The event became another PPV blockbuster. Lesnar's UFC 200 payout. Guaranteed purse, $2.5 million. Sponsorships and bonuses, $500,000 plus. PPV share, estimated $1 to $2 million. Even though his win was later overturned due to a failed drug test, his wallet stayed heavy. Total earnings from that single fight, around $3.50 to $4 million. Lesnar's legacy, a game-changer for fighter pay. Before Lesnar, UFC fighters earned modest sums compared to boxing stars. But Brock changed that. He proved that MMA fighters could be mainstream celebrities and command boxing-level paydays. Because of him, fighters like Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, and Jon Jones later secured massive deals. UFC realized the value of crossover appeal. WWE saw the potential for real combat crossover storytelling. Brock Lesnar didn't just make money, he redefined the business of fighting. Total UFC earnings breakdown estimates. Category estimated earnings. Fight purses $8 million. PPV shares $15 to $20 million. Sponsorships and endorsements $3 million. Bonuses and appearances $1 million. Total UFC career earnings $25 to $30 million. That's right, Brock Lesnar made up to $30 million from less than 10 fights. That's why they call him the Beast Incarnate. Beyond the octagon, the smart investor. Unlike many fighters who lose their fortune, Brock managed his wealth wisely. He invested in a massive farm in Minnesota, real estate properties, his own clothing and supplement lines. He also continued earning from WWE, where he returned as a part-time superstar, often making over $5 million per year on limited appearances. So while others fought for survival, Brock fought for legacy and secured generational wealth. Checkered flag conclusion, the beast who beat the system. Brock Lesnar's UFC journey was short, but it shook the fight world to its core. He came in as an outsider, silenced critics with real victories, and walked away with tens of millions in the bank. He didn't just fight men, he fought systems, expectations, and illness, and won them all. So when people say, Brock Lesnar made an outrageous amount of money in the UFC, they're not exaggerating. He turned every fight into a business empire. He proved that power, brains, and timing can turn anyone into a millionaire, even in a cage. And that's why Brock Lesnar will forever be remembered, not just as a fighter, but as the most profitable beast in UFC history.